Well, good morning, everybody. Heading out to Woodburn Drag Strip. It is the ARC Automotive Shifter class running today. It's the 7th Specialty Series race out there. It's the last one of the year for the Specialty Series anyway. So I think they still have a couple of events. They got a swap meet, and there might be something else going on even in October, but I'm not sure I'll be doing that deal. So racing the yellow car today, and we'll see what happens. I'm currently number 3 in points, so hope to have a good day and maybe improve a little bit. But regardless, it'll be a fun day at the track. We will take you along.
Looney V8 YouTube channel. He posts tons of cool videos about Woodburn Drag Strip. So if you want to get on YouTube and follow his channel there, Dave Looney, he has a really good YouTube channel.
Well, good morning and welcome back to D-Loney V8 Motorsports. If you made it to here, you watched the whole video, so thanks for that. We had a great day. I don't know why I'm always doing this with my glasses. Amateur. Anyway, we had a great day on Saturday. The last Super Shifters race, ARC Automotive, I think, sponsored it this year, and took the win in this old girl. And so it's run really good this year. It's progressively gotten better and better. Definitely wanted to thank a few folks. I think earlier this year it was in the 1030 range, and yesterday we dialed a 965. It ran a 965, and I think it ran a 966 in the final on the brakes, not on the brakes, but letting off a little bit. So it scrubbed a few miles an hour off. Anyway, the car's performance really picked up. I had a lot of comments over the season. People impressed with the car. I'd done just a little tweaking between races the entire season, and had a lot of help and a lot of advice. I'd never owned a car with a clutch like this or a transmission like this, and certainly never driven one. And so got a lot of good advice. Got to really say thanks to a number of folks. Jamie Roth reached out to me after one of the first races, and we ended up talking on the phone for quite a while, and he's been there, done that in this sport with these kind of cars, and he was a big help talking about different ways to tune the car, things to check to make it to hook up better, and clutch adjustments as well. So I've thanked him a bunch of times, but thanks again, Jamie, for all your help. Scott Davis. So Scott Davis has tuned an alcohol funny car. He tuned the Tiki Warrior. He's also raced for a number of years. He doesn't race that often, but he's a hell of a driver. He goes out and wins rounds regularly after not racing for a year. And so Scott knows mechanics. He's got a shop, Scott Davis Automotive, in Malino, Oregon. And throughout the season, I hit up Scott a number of times, and he would rattle off suggestions, take out some static, take off some weight. He's a numbers guy, so I can tell you on the funny car, he always knew how many grams were on the clutch and how many turns of static and all that. We actually crewed on a couple of different funny cars, and Scott always knew those stats. So thanks, Scott, for your help and the advice throughout the season. Ron Hughley. So Ron drove the Tiki Warrior, and he was the clutch guy. And so Ron also gave a lot of advice. We never took the clutch out of the car all year. So I made a few adjustments through the little inspection hole, but we never had the clutch out of the car. Definitely want Ron to see it when we do finally take it apart over the winter. And I think he'll be able to help assess how things are working in there once it's out of the car. He used to take the clutch out of the funny car at least once a race. And so he knows his way around this style of clutch. So thanks, Ron. Brett Davis. So Brett, throughout the season, Brett actually suggested that I call Scott a number of times, and I did. And different little things on the car. And I can tell you, Brett did this on the old Nova too. I'd run into something, I thought I was stuck, I'd rattle off what it was, and Brett would always have an idea of what to do to get to the end or figure it out or fix it. There's a couple of good stories that go along with that, but Brett is definitely a troubleshooter. He does that in his job at a telephone company there in Canby, and he's good at isolating and troubleshooting issues. So I wanted to thank also some of the guys that I raced with. John Paul, the very first race with this car, very first event, it might have even been a test and tune, but John Paul came right up to me and offered help. Welcomed me into the group. Heck of a nice guy. I would say he's kind of a gentle giant. He drives that bad Corvette, that 58 Corvette. I don't know how he fits in that thing, but he rose gears in that vet and does very well. And he's been doing this for quite a while as well. So thanks, John Paul. Bruce Papineau, again, a lot of advice. Probably a year before I even got into this class, I was referred to Bruce to talk about I was going to build a car, and Bruce gave good advice on which transmission. And then over the winter, I hit him up a number of times on clutches and transmission, and he wrote novels on Facebook Messenger with great advice and suggestions on what works and what doesn't. Bruce also has a shop. He's in Oregon City. Bruce's Automotive. Hit him up if you need stuff. He's right there by Powell Engine Service, and so he's got a waiting list for good reason. He's a good mechanic. He knows his way around these things. Got to thank a couple other folks. George Burns. So George, when I first looked at this car, George rode out with me. He knew Lee, and Lee knew him, and so this thing wasn't necessarily advertised on the market, and so I actually, Billy Oliver's the one who kind of pointed me towards this car. But George went out with me, looked the car over. Again, George knows these cars very well. And frankly, he encouraged me. After we left there, he was strongly suggesting that I go for this car. And I'm certainly glad I did. So thanks, George, for the push on that. Got to thank the guy that built this car, Lee Smith. Lee built this car, I want to say it's something around 10 years ago. This thing, you know, he had it painted. I believe he did all the fab work, all the welding. There's braces and bars all over this car. These things weren't meant to have a big block or a clutchless transmission, and he made it all work. It's got a slick handbrake setup. I mean, he literally went through this entire car and built it. And I've kept him up to speed the whole year. I text him every once in a while and send him the video links and stuff, and he appreciates that. He really wanted to see the car get used. And I don't think he ever really got a representative run when he had the car. He had some issues with it, and so I think he's really glad to see the car running well, and it's been fun to kind of stay in touch with him. So last but not least, I've got to thank my wife, Kathy, wife of 34 years now. So she's obviously been really supportive, and actually she gives me some good, I'll call it tough love. She knows how bracket racing works, and she strongly suggests that I keep the car consistent and not try to kill it and go faster all the time. And so it's been good advice, and she's been really supportive. She lets me go play all the time, and really appreciate her and love her. So thanks, Kathy. And that is it. That's a wrap for this season. And so obviously we'll keep the video thing going. We got some other events and fun things coming up, and of course maintenance on this, and working on the Buick over here, and some sand dune fun and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Take care. Okay, I forgot somebody. I had to get this in here. Dick Arnold, Mr. President, gotta say thanks to you for all your help and hijinks all along. Actually, you're one of the ones I talked to when I very first started looking at this class, and you gave me some good advice and actually pointed out some others I should talk to as well, which probably included Bruce and Jamie. So did include those guys. Anyway, thanks, Dick, for your leadership, but most of all the laughs. We had a great time chatting and joking and scheming in the lanes this year, and you made it a lot of fun. And if you'd like to trade that Camaro for this thing, give me a call. See you, buddy.